This is Dr. Michael Greger joining a few minutes late. I apologize about that. My last interview went over. I'm here live to answer any questions you might have, like I do every month. For those unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world. So busy folks like you don't have to. I think about the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings, the new videos and articles I upload every day to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything, just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition. Let us look at your questions and start going through them. All right. Okay, we got first one, just thanking me. That's very nice. Second question. If I have polyphenols, tea, berry, liquid, etc., in my stomach and then eat 100 grams of sesame, will I trap them in water-soluble environments so they don't get absorbed? No, not. The sesame is not going to trap your polyphenols. Okay. Can low stomach acid cause malnutrition? If yes, what can we do about it? And could low T3 be the cause of low acid production? What do we do about low T3? Low stomach acid, one of the most common causes is people taking these proton pump inhibitor drugs like Prilosec or Nexium. We're now available over the counter, and were overprescribed when they were just prescription only. And now God knows how many people are on them, and associated with all sorts of serious negative long-term effects. I just did a webinar I did an acid reflux webinar, talked about how dangerous these drugs can be, increasing risk of fractures and intestinal infections, etc. But it can play a role in the absorption of some nutrients like B12, etc. But that is not the most serious problem of not having sufficient acid. I don't think it has. It's not that I know connected to thyroid hormones. And what can we do about having low thyroid hormones? Well, you treat the cause. Why do you have low thyroid hormones? So, for example, iodine deficiency. There's a whole long list of things that we should figure out to treat that and get at the root cause. Next up, what does the science say about methylene? Oh, methylene blue. Oh, yeah, don't do it. I have a whole section on this. Makes it sound like someone's actually eating it. God forbid. But there's they used to inject it, or God, they still probably do inject it into degenerating discs, hoping, because it's toxic, and they're hoping it's going to kind of destroy the nerves in the disc to prevent back pain. Doesn't work. And so I strongly recommend against it in my upcoming book, How Not to Hurt, which will be out in December. All proceeds donated to charity. This makes it sound like somebody's eating it. Don't eat it. It's toxic. Hello, everybody. Stop drinking alcohol. I was wondering whether non-alcoholic beer is healthy or not. Well, as with everything in nutrition, it's compared to what, right? So what would you be drinking instead of non-alcoholic beer? If you'd be drinking alcoholic beer, then absolutely non-alcoholic beer is healthy. If instead you'd be drinking green tea, then no, non-alcoholic beer is not healthy compared to green tea. I guess one could ask the question, well, is it healthier to drink than water, which is kind of like the baseline? I'd rather people drink water than non-alcoholic beer. Okay. Do I really need to take penicillin after a tick bite? If you get the tick off quick enough, then you shouldn't have to worry about getting something like Lyme disease. And usually I think it's a doxycycline. Just check yourself for ticks and get it off. I forget if it's 24, 48 hours, but tick has to be on there a long way to actually transmit disease. What a great question. It's a great question because there's a nice hopeful answer. So a bad question would be like, what can you do from the horrible cancer that no one can do anything about? It's not a bad question at all. It's just I wish I can't. I feel bad because I can't give some exciting, hopeful news for it. So that's what I mean by good question. In that, I got exciting, hopeful news. Absolutely, fatty liver and fatty pancreas can reverse. That is the cause of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance caused by excess fat, insulin resistance, and then impaired insulin production eventually by excess fat, both in your muscles and in your liver, and eventually in your pancreas, all of which can be reversed. We can pull fat out in a variety of ways. We can eat healthier. So by eating healthier, we are cutting our intake of saturated fat and sugar. And we can lose weight, which helps pulls fat. That's how we can actually reverse type 2 diabetes, particularly when it's caught early enough, because we can remove the fat that was impairing the insulin signaling that led to the disease in the first place. Okay, does AMPK supplements help reduce fat in organs? Okay, so AMPK, right, is the fat controller enzyme, which we want to boost, but I don't know what an AMPK supplement is. It's not like you can just take the enzyme. But presumably these are supplements that purport to boost AMPK. If it did indeed boost AMPK, then it would indeed reduce fat in organs. But I would not take any kind of supplement for that. I would. There are healthy foods. So, for example, vinegar. Vinegar is by definition a solution of acetic acid in water at a certain percentage. And acetic acid, when metabolized by our body, uses up results in, to skip the biochemical explanation, results in a boost in AMPK. That's why, maybe one of the reasons why vinegar has been used to treat obesity for centuries. And when actually put to the test, you can randomize people to a vinegar drink with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar versus a placebo vinegar drink using a different kind of acid. So it tastes the same, looks the same, blah, 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 but doesn't have any actual acetic acid, so it doesn't boost the AMPK. And you can see in the placebo fake vinegar group, they continue to gain body fat in their internal organs. Whereas in the real vinegar group, as determined by CT scans, significantly decrease in visceral fat. That's that really dangerous, deep fat that's encircling and infiltrating your organs. So so you say, wait a second, how am I supposed to have vinegar every day? Well, never straight. You don't want to burn your esophagus. So sprinkle on a salad, make a dressing out of it. You could have it to some tea with some hot water and lemon and drink it. But just make sure it's diluted first. Okay, next up. Do I have any suggestions for people with chronic pancreatitis? That was not a list, but it didn't make the final cut for How Not to Hurt. So this is my book on pain management that comes out in December. And so I covered all the major causes, most common causes of pain, from back pain to osteoarthritis to migraines to menstrual pain, but did not make it down to chronic pancreatitis. I actually did I actually collected PDFs for it, thinking that I would be able to cover it. But in the end, the book was already going to be too long. And so, but because I have all the research compiled, it should be easy to look at and see if there's anything juicy in there. And if there is, I will do a video about it. Just because there's lots of things we can do for other similar kind of chronic inflammatory conditions. And so hopefully there's something we can do for chronic pancreatitis as well. I just don't know, since I never ended up writing that chapter. Okay, in raising my recommended serving of ground flax to 3 tablespoons, or am I no longer concerned limiting it to 1 tablespoon due to heavy metal exposure? So if you don't understand what Cindy is talking about, this in my book, do I have it here? I do have it here. In my Lowering LDL Cholesterol Naturally with Food book, I have so I tweaked the daily dozen to be maximally LDL cholesterol lowering. So, for example, I say, oh, we should eat beans every day. Oh, but there's specific beans that lower cholesterol more, so eat those beans. Eat vegetables. There's particular type of vegetable. Oh, but there's specific vegetables. There's specific nuts. There's specific, and so in there's specific spices, for example, that a significant lower LDL cholesterol. And what happened with the flax recommendation is I upped it to 3 tablespoons a day because that is the minimum dose that's shown to significantly reduce LDL cholesterol. And that is the goal of the book. Why? Because LDL cholesterol is the primary driver of our number one killer, heart disease. So we want to get it as low as possible for as long as possible. And so one way to do that is to eat lots of flax. So it's like a tablespoon of flax with each meal. Now the concerns about limiting flax didn't have to do with heavy metal exposure, but has to do with cyanide exposure. You say, what? Most major crops actually are cyanogenic. They actually produce cyanide. Our bodies developed all sorts of ways, 5 different ways to detoxify cyanide within our bodies. But obviously there's a limit. And the limit is for acute consumption. So you take people and they gave people, I have videos about this where they gave people massive amounts, like, cups of flax seeds, and did not get into kind of danger levels with cyanide exposure, never was able to kind of create any symptoms of cyanide exposure. But the concern is that kind of on a chronic basis. Well, okay, yeah. So acutely, you can eat a lot of flax and it doesn't seem to do anything. But maybe every day, if you ate it every day. And so they came up with based on, and so I talk about how they actually developed this no effect level for chronic exposure, and basically came down and say, hey, you should, I think it was like stick to under 2 tablespoons or stick to 1 tablespoon a day. And that was based on found that at 100 times that human equivalent dose, there was some issue with in rodents. And so they add like 100-fold kind of safety, just as a safety factor. So that was the lowest. So basically take the lowest dose that caused any adverse effects in rodents, and you convert that to how much that would be in human dose, and then you divide it by 100. And so that's where you basically get the 1 tablespoon a day. So we don't actually have any evidence that there's harm. In fact, people eat lots of flax, have all sorts of benefits. And one benefit would be lowering LDL cholesterol, which would outweigh, I think, any long-term effects of that increased cyanide exposure from ground flax seeds. So that's why I recommend it, because the benefits would outweigh the risks, because heart disease is our number one killer, and anything we can do to lower our LDL should be considered. Okay, Cindy is back. Is there any evidence that algae-based omega-3 supplements raise LDL? I haven't seen any, but that's a question that should be easy to figure out. In fact, I can do a real quick search now, but I don't think we'd find anything. So I continue to encourage people to try to get about 250 milligrams of a pollutant-free or algae-based DHA, this long-chain omega-3, particularly for cognitive health, particularly in older men, to improve their cognition or to maintain their cognition. All right, My Jam asks, curious about thoughts on exfoliating. Exfoliating and using, like, I guess, face masks. I have don't think so. I have a preserving your skin chapter in How Not to Age, but I did not get into exfoliating or masks. I do talk a lot about kind of anti-aging serums and creams, things to put on your face and not put on your face. But and maybe some of those are in the masks. But that is not something I looked at specifically. All right. Cindy's back. Are there any concerns about heavy metal exposure with Any of the other things in LDL, cocoa isn't one of them. There haven't been they haven't found any heavy metals in like straight amla powders, although they have in kind of amla like triphala, which is like an amla mixture, Ayurvedic amla mixture, but just straight should be fine. Turmeric used to be a problem if it came from Bangladesh, but they've kind of got rid of this whole lead chromate thing. So not any that I can think of off the top of my head. I would encourage people to do as many of those LDL lowering things as they can. Okay, is DHA, EPA, ALA consumption best at the start of the feeding window or at the end? It does not matter. Your body doesn't care. As far as I would understand. No, your body's not that picky. Eat it whenever you can get it. Of course, the source is what matters most. All right, 59 years old for the past 5 months, gained, 5 pounds or so, 4.5 pounds. Eating according to my recommendations, have not changed my eating habits beyond that. And flatulence has been foul smelling. Okay, that I would love to see what's in your diet. Email me with your dietary record. We'll find out. We'll get to the cause of what is going on with your diet, leading not only to foul flatulence, but weight gain, which I'm presuming you're implying is a body fat gain, which would not be good. Where's the next one? There we go. Lots of omega-3 questions today. When I'm consuming 3 tablespoons of flaxseed, do I need to take EPA DHA supplement? So the logic behind this question is, look, you're getting so much of the short chain alpha linolenic acid with eating that much ground flaxseed. You'd think we'd make enough of the long chains for sufficient cognitive health. It's possible. It certainly probably makes it less critical, although we don't even know if it's critical in the first place. But we do have randomized controlled trials showing people supplementing with 250 milligrams of DHA having beneficial who have omega-3 indexes of non-fish eaters or those who don't eat a lot of fish. There's cognitive benefits, and so for that reason, I would continue to recommend him, just because the ability of people's bodies to elongate the short chain omega-3s differs by individuals. I think women tend to do it a little better because they're creating a brain from scratch in utero, which is about 1/3 dry weight DHA. I'd still recommend it, but again, we don't know if it's necessary. Are there any updates about glyphosate use? We just put up a video updating the kind of GMO debate. I think like 10 years ago, we had a series of videos on GMOs. We talked about glyphosate, and then we just did an updated video. I think Christine Dennis, who is our former senior research scientist. She did a video talking about the latest and the IARC conclusion that it may be cancer causing. Which is disagreed by EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, and by the FDA. And I talk about the controversy. So check out this video if you want to know more. Excuse me. I got the fan on and it's drying out my my vocal cords after a day of speaking. This is my 6th interview / presentation I've given today. How do I advise patients who push back against consuming plant-based foods that are concerned about the cons of chemical exposure outweighing the pros of eating chemical exposure? I assume you're talking about pesticides, but many of the most concerning pesticides, like organochlorine pesticides, actually build up the food chain, so they're fat soluble. And so by eating, meat, you're actually not just eating that animal, but all the plants that animal ate, they concentrated up those pesticides. So you may actually get more exposure to some of the most dangerous pesticides. Now, some pesticides are not. There's some concerning fungicides that aren't fat soluble, and that's not an issue. And but you can, if you don't want pesticide laden food, you can buy organic. And I talk about I have videos talking about the kind of pros and cons of choosing organic or just spending your money getting lots of more conventional produce. Have I researched the best diet for longevity in dogs? I have not, just because I am not a veterinarian and just don't know that literature. And so what do I feed my pups? I feed my pups what the veterinarian, what the expert says, what the veterinarian recommends we feed our pups. I am a veterinarian, but a very limited one to only one species, and that is human species. I don't know how veterinarians know all the species. That's pretty impressive. Next up, what foods can increase iron absorption? I've been taking iron pills, and ferritin is up to 24. For iron pills, it was 5. So I would encourage you to check out, I think it was in May, we did a whole series about iron pills and iron deficiency anemia, and actually the ideal ferritin, who should not be trying to increase their or iron absorption. But if you really are trying to increase your iron absorption, then vitamin C rich foods in the stomach at the same time as iron rich foods can help improve absorption. And so that is, what are some vitamin C rich foods? Citrus, tropical fruits, broccoli, bell peppers. Those are some good vitamin C rich options. All right, what else we got? Oh, we're more iron. If iron supplementation is needed, iron deficiency, how to best reduce the oxidative stress? Well, you can definitely reduce the kind of intestinal damage done by taking iron supplements by getting intravenous iron, which, if you're iron deficient enough, you may actually be an option. But of course, not being iron deficient in the first place, and that is finding the reason why you're iron deficient. Maybe you're not getting enough iron, but maybe you're losing iron. Maybe you're anemic because your body's not making blood cells like it should. Maybe you have blood loss, invisible blood loss from your intestines. There's all sorts of things. So you need to find out what it is and then treat the underlying cause. All right, next up. Oh, we just did that. Next up. Does tempeh, pasteurized by producer, cause PPO-related nutrient loss of other foods like mushrooms, bananas do? What if it wasn't pasteurized? No. So polyphenol oxidase has nothing to do with tempeh, right? Polyphenol oxidase, these are in foods that turn brown. So that is bananas, avocados. You cut it open, it turns brown. White mushrooms. But tempeh doesn't have that that I know of, and so I wouldn't worry about it. Pasteurized or not. Did they pasteurize tempeh? I don't even know. But it is a good idea to cook tempeh. We shouldn't be eating tempeh raw. In fact, you shouldn't even be eating tofu raw. It really should be cooked or in aseptic packaging for food safety reasons. Absolutely. There are whole food plant-based recommendations during a Crohn's flare. And yes, I have a whole chapter, big chapter on inflammatory bowel disease where I cover both ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease in my upcoming book, How Not to Hurt, talking about the benefits of plant-based eating and then specifically what foods we can eat or avoid. And so definitely go into that. And so stay tuned. I'm excited for I'm excited for the talk. I finished the presentation, which I should be getting the slides back for next month. And I'm giving it for the first time at a conference at the International Conference on Nutrition in DC in August. I will premiere it, and it's actually going to be videotaped. We'll put it up on NutritionFacts.org, which is exciting because it's the first time I gave it. But of course, all the timing's going to be off. Maybe the jokes don't work. I don't know, because it'll be the first time I'm giving it. Yet that's the one that ends up on the website, ironically. We should probably replace them with one I do like a year later where I'm like, have it all memorized. And all the things land. And anyway, but at least you'll get the information. That's the most important thing. Okay. PubMed studies show organic produce is more likely to have bacteria, pathogens than non-organic because they use more fertilizer, manure to fertilize. Do I agree? Organic recalls seem common. So I mean the manure should be. I mean they treat manure beforehand to reduce the pathogen load. Most of these recalls that you see with produce in general is kind of raw sewage. So there's like you manure in an irrigation ditch or something that got sprayed, or something like that. And so I'm not aware of any study showing organic produce having more pathogenic bacteria. So, but send them my way. And if that's a thing, I'll do a video about it. Okay. Oh, we are running out of time. Is there maybe I can do something really quick? Is it healthier to eat the most nutritious lentils? So this I did a video like what's the best lentil, and I forget what, based on whatever criteria. I think it was antioxidant content. Eat a variety of lentils. Eat whatever lentils you can find. Whatever's most convenient. The ones you like the most. The ones that you will eat the most. If like whatever was healthiest or had the highest antioxidant content is hard to find, or you don't like it as much, and you just end up won't eating as much, don't do it. Eat a variety of foods. But if you don't care what kind of lentil, they all taste the same to you. They're all the same price, and they're all as convenient. Might as well choose the one that has more nutrition or antioxidant value or whatever, fiber content, on down the list. Anyway, okay, we're closing out here. The one thing I want to say is my books like How Not to Die or How Not to Diet or some of the cookbooks, whatever, are part of the Prime Day sales going on Amazon. Has like a Prime Day thing. I think it only goes on for 2 more days or something, but some of my books got wrapped up into that. So I don't know if you want to buy if you don't already have my books and want to buy more for people, then this is a good time to buy it on Amazon specifically because they have a big sale. Otherwise, just tell your friends and family to go to the local public library and check it out themselves. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next month.